All right, you may have been told that you need to have some huge office with a massive desk and a ton of stuff to have a productive work environment. But guess what? You don't. In today's video, I'm actually going to break down for you how to identify what are the right things that you need to have a productive work environment in your home. Now, again, don't worry, you don't need to have a dedicated office because I'm going to share with you how to find what you need. And then I'm also going to give you tips if you do not have a dedicated office in your home, how to create a productive work environment if you're kind of what I call on the go, or you need to get creative on where you can work in your house. Now, my name is Sumrell. I am a time management expert for women, and I'm on a mission to bring work-life harmony to women all over the world. I have been working from a home office for going on almost 15 years now. And when I first started working from home, I was actually still working a full-time corporate job, but I lived in a different state. So I had a home office. I now work full-time from home for the business that I run. But what you're seeing here, you're actually seeing part of my actual office. I want to make sure you understand when I first started working from home, I did not have a dedicated kind of solo office in our house. I have run the gamut on places where I have worked. I have had a kind of temporary home office in our dining room. I've had it in the bonus room. I've had it what I call mobile, where it had to move during given weeks, depending upon what was going on. And I've also had a period of life where I was on the go so much that I kind of needed to take my office with me because of travel, meetings, etc. So we're going to cover all of that here today. First and foremost, no matter where you are working in your home, it is really important that you actually have a chair and a flat surface. You may be thinking obvious, but it's not. I see so many people who work from their bed or like propped up on a couch. So I am here to tell you that it will not serve you well to work from your bed or to be laying kind of lounging on your couch. You need to have a chair that is comfortable for you, and you need to have a flat surface. Now, there are physical reasons for this that's just going to help your neck, your shoulders, all of that. But I want to touch specifically on the why not to do this in your bedroom. You've got to have a differentiation between where you work and where you sleep and rest. If you are working from your bed a lot, you are not going to get the quality of sleep that you so much need and deserve. So if you've been working from your bed, I encourage you right now, absolutely not. Okay. Now let's talk about deciding what you need in your workspace to be really productive. So I'm going to walk you through a process that is really simple, but super powerful. So what you're going to do is maybe you're working at your desk, maybe you're working at a dining room table, or maybe you've got a folding table set up in another room in your home. What you're going to put on that to start off with is absolutely nothing. All right. You're going to bring absolutely no supplies to your work environment. Now, if you already have a desk, what I encourage you to do is take everything off of it, empty out the drawers, etc., and go put them like in a box where you can't reach it while you're sitting at your desk. Okay. So we're going to start with nothing. And I like to do this at the beginning of a week. Then as the week goes on, as you're working, anytime you need something, then you're going to go and get it and bring it back to your desk. So for example, maybe you realize you need a notebook. So you're going to go get a notebook and bring it to your desk. And maybe you realize you needed a pen or a pencil or highlighter. You're going to get those and you're going to bring them to your work environment, but you're only going to bring things in as you need them. Now, a simple way to do this is just take a box or a bag and have it next to your work environment, where then you can be storing these things that you needed to go and grab. As you go about your week, if there was anything that you grabbed that you were using regularly, as in every day or multiple times during that week, we want to store that in a different box. So essentially you're going to have kind of two either boxes or bags. As you grab stuff and use it, you're going to place it in one. Then if you use it more than once during the week, you're going to put it in another one. What we're trying to zero in on here is identifying what tools do you use regularly, meaning daily or multiple times a week, versus what are things that maybe you might only touch once a week or even once a month or once a quarter. We will get fooled into thinking that there are things that we need to cram into our work environment, even though we might only leverage them once a month, maybe even twice a month, once a quarter. So then at the end of your week, you're going to look at the box or bag of stuff that you touched more than once. And now you get to identify where you want to store that in your working area so that it's always readily available. So for instance, maybe you have a drawer at a desk. So maybe you'll take all of your writing supplies and anything that you use more than once, you can put them in that drawer. Now, for the things that are left in your bag or box that you only touched one time during that week, take a minute and ask yourself, is this something that I'm going to need to use at least every week? And if so, then you want to go ahead and find a convenient storage location right by your work area. An example of something that might not be is, for instance, maybe you are saving papers for tax time. And it just so happened that the week you were doing this, you had some papers that you needed to put into that tax folder. But when you're looking at it, you realize, I rarely need this. Well, maybe that doesn't need to be right at your productive work environment. Maybe you can store that in a file cabinet in another room if needed. All right, what we're trying to get at here is minimizing clutter and stuff, because when you have a lot of things at your work environment, when you walk in to sit down and work for the day and it looks cluttered and noisy and messy, that will actually create a lot of distractions for you. So this is a really simple way to help you uncover what do you need at your workspace on the regular to help keep you productive. Because what we don't want to have is you getting up and down all day long, constantly getting the same things. All right. Another thing to think about with your productive workspace is lighting. Lighting is really, really important. If possible, I always encourage everyone to find a place to work where there is natural light, meaning you want to try and have a spot where you are working where there is an actual window. If not, invest in a lamp with the type of light bulb that does its best to mimic natural lighting. Okay. And then one other little thing that I always like to have with my productive work environment is one thing that brings me inspiration. And inspiration comes in lots of varieties. For me, I like to have something that reminds me why I do what I do, so that maybe if it's one of those days where there's hard things that I need to work on or things I don't love, I have something right here on my desk that reminds me why I do the work that I do, and it inspires me. So maybe that's a picture, maybe it's an object, maybe it's a quote. Again, it's completely up to you, but having one little piece of inspiration in your work environment is something that can help you when you're feeling, maybe not into the work that given day. Let's shift gears and talk about what we do when you don't have a dedicated desk or a space in your home. This is what I call having a little bit more of a mobile office, meaning maybe you have a shared space in your home. For years, I actually worked out of our dining room. If we had company over or needed to use the dining room, I wanted to make it easy to kind of pack up my work. This is where I really encourage folks to invest in a cart. There's a ton of them on Amazon. I see them all over the place. They're really inexpensive. And it's just a rolling mobile cart that kind of has 3 bins in it. And you're going to go through the same exercise before to identify what you need for your workspace. And you also can have your inspirational item, etc. Everything you need to work can be packed up in this mobile cart. If you're working, for example, from your dining room, you can pull the cart out when it's time to work. You can set up your environment. You have everything you need right there in your cart. And then when you're done, you pack it up and roll it away. So you can actually get that out of the space. Now, if you are someone that changes locations where you work in your home, I want to advise you, avoid high traffic areas. I see so many people by default kind of set up their office in the kitchen, which is typically one of the most high traffic areas in a home. Now, if you live alone, that may work fine for you. But again, sometimes it can be better for you to invest in maybe a folding table that sits in your family room that you can work from and then pack your stuff up. Or again, maybe if you have a separate dining room, or even for a while, I just had a folding table in our guest room that had the rolling cart. So I could work from there. But if we had company, I could take the cart and move it elsewhere into the home. One final tip, again, for those of you that are on the go a lot, meaning you're not always working from your house. Maybe you go to meetings, maybe you work at a co-working space or going to coffee shops, etc. This is when, using the same process as before to identify what are the things that you need to be productive, you can create what I call an office in a bag. There are so many great kind of stable bags with with lots of pockets today. There's a company 31 that sells them. You can also do a Google search on Amazon for teacher bags. And what you want to do is actually have everything you need in that bag. So if it's time for you to leave, all you're grabbing is probably your computer or tablet, and that's it. Now, what this means for you is that you may need to invest in some extra kind of duplicate supplies. For example, when I had my office in a bag, I invested in a extra charging cord. So I always had a charging cord for my laptop in my office in a bag, and then I had a separate one at home. That way I wasn't forgetting things or worried about leaving things behind. So when you think about what do you need to be productive when you're working on the go, if needed, invest in getting a duplicate of those so that your bag is always packed. The other tip that I would encourage you for your office in a bag is to have a water bottle in there, and then whatever your favorite snacks are as well. So that way, if you're out and about, you've always got a healthy snack option. So the key to all of this, when you're thinking about how to have a productive work environment, is we don't want to clutter it with stuff we don't need on the regular. We want to identify what are the key things that you need to actually complete your work, what's going to help inspire you, and then how are you going to store it conveniently, whether it's in your office, in a cart, maybe in a bag. But the one thing I want to make sure you understand, notice I haven't told you what supplies you should have for your productive work environment, right? Because what I need is probably going to be different from what you need. But you've got to go through that process to figure it out. And trust me, with everything that you need on the regular is within hand's reach and easy to find, it's going to make your day and your work time run so much smoother.